Ladies, ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I hope you can all hear me. I'm getting shakes of the head. So, in the event that I can't be heard, we'll improvise. Allow me to say welcome back, and I do hope that you've enjoyed your lunch. We are almost at the tail end of our program together. And if I may ask, before we get to our next session, if I may kindly ask that if you're in the room, that you might kindly please take your seats. If you're coming into the room, as many of us are at the back, if I may kindly ask us to quickly please take our seats so that we can introduce our moderator for the session, and all the speakers are standing by. Thank you very much. I do appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, we are turning our focus now to our final session for the day, which is from Africa for a Circular Future. From Africa for a Circular Future. And moderating this session is the founding director of the African Circular Economy Network Foundation. He is also the director of 5 commercial companies working in the circular economy space. He's a circular economy strategist. He's coming into the space with more than 30 years of experience, and his impact has created thousands of jobs across the continent and earned him 18 and counting global awards. His primary focus is innovation, using waste to create value chains, and he believes that a circular economy transition is the only path forward for Africa. The most interesting fact for me that I learned about our next moderator is that he actually lives 2 kilometers away from my parents. And so that was very special for me. Ladies and gentlemen, please can you give a warm round of applause to Chris White as he comes up.
Thanks, Nazi. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the last session. Everyone's going, oh, we can go home. Beer's up after this. So, first of all, I'd like to just express that I think over the last 2 days, I think we can all agree that we have been captivated by the passion and articulated knowledge of so many distinguished speakers. In this final session, before the official close, we will facilitate a sneak peek into disruptive technologies and how these can change the game to ensure that Africa and the world embrace and implement a just transition to a circular economy, particularly where we can engage local youth and innovation. So what is disruption? Well, in essence, this is a driving change to business unusual. And as we see it now, we are convinced that the insatiable practices of the past need to remain there, in the past. We've designed and engineered this planet to the brink of collapse. But I firmly believe, and especially with the energy in this room, that we can design and engineer our way back to sustainable prosperity. It takes science and innovation, as well as knowledge and as well as knowledge and passion. And we need to use the many tools available to us today and design new tools. Circular economy is a disruptive approach in itself, based on principles and systemic processes that can change everything: waste, water, energy, agriculture, mining, infrastructure, construction, manufacturing, tourism, etc. And in turn, positively impact education, health, biodiversity, and the environment. It's a powerful message. It's a powerful tool. So the first part of the session, we will engage with 3 amazing disruptors, 2 locally from Rwanda and 1 from India. As I call you up, please come onto the stage. The first is Shalini Goyal-Bala. Welcome. Shalini is the author of India's first book on circular economy, editor of the Journal on Circularity, founder and managing director of International Council for Circular Economy. She's a leader who has represented India on multiple international platforms. She writes for many Indian as well as other international magazines. Passionate about circularity, she has been part of several policy and other development programs in federal and state bodies in India, and she was instrumental in putting India on the global map of countries that provide formal education on circular economy. Also a member of the technical committee at the ISO TC 323, and undoubtedly an impeccable leader from India. Michelle de Vries, please join us on stage. Michelle is a senior officer with the Global Green Growth Institute, based in Kigali, Rwanda, a local. Michelle is currently the project manager for the Waste to Resources project. It's a 3-year initiative led by the Ministry of Environment of the Government of Rwanda and funded by the Ministry of Environment, Climate and Sustainable Development for the Government of the Grand Duchy of Luxembourg. Mr. Olivier Mbera, please to join us on the stage. Thank you. Olivier is an environmental engineer by profession with 10 years of experience in the recycling industry. He's earned an MSc degree with honors from the China University of Geosciences. He's currently the general manager for EnviroServe Rwanda Green Park, a leading e-waste recycling company in East Africa which operates the e-waste dismantling and recycling facility. He's worked for UNIDO in the past as a national expert, participating in numerous projects. He's led the development of the e-waste management project in Rwanda and worked as an e-waste project manager under the Ministry of Trade and Industry, and has also worked as a national expert for different programs, including resource-efficient cleaner production, sustainable consumption and production, and Lake Victoria Environmental Management Program. So these 3 individuals have done a huge amount of work in their different fields. And what we really want to try and do today is to unpack some of that and look at disruption as to how disruption is something that we need to embrace and how we can control and manipulate the opportunities of the future going forward. So thank you. Shalini, I'm going to start with you, if you don't mind. You authored India's first book on circular economy. Congratulations. Well done. Can you give me 2 key takeaways from that book that would highlight India's best path of disruption to driving the national transition to a circular economy?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Chris. Before I get into the 2 points which are very relevant in this book, I would like to talk a little about the history of the book, how it started. When I started envisaging this book, the topic circular economy was not much talked about in India. I went to the publishers to publish my book, and none of the publishers would agree to publish it. So it was difficult, it was a journey, but today the book has become a reference book for all technical courses in India. It is referred by industry people, students, academia, professors, for all the information that they need. Coming back to your point, the 2 points that the book covered, the one and very important point that the book covers is inspired by old civilizations like India and Africa, where the sustainability is at the core of our lifestyle from times immemorial. So there is one chapter which I keep referring to people multiple times, and everyone has found interest in reading that chapter, is called Old Wine in New Bottle. That chapter talks about how the sustainable practices in India, and also, as said so, in Africa, are highly effective practices to sustainability. And when I talk about that, I do mention all this with a lot of data and numbers. A very simple thing, a very simple example, which we may not kind of consider in our daily lives, is like sun drying versus machine drying of clothes that we do on a daily basis. And how sun drying is a more sustainable practice. I put numbers to it, and I find it very interesting. Similarly, we have a culture of exercising in gyms today. So exercising in gyms versus yoga, which is very much an Indian concept, we have maybe compared these 2 topics multiple times, but when we talk about the greenhouse gas emissions that are led by any gym, the machines, the treadmill, the exercise machines, versus yoga, which is not at all an energy-intensive kind of a practice, the difference in the human brain and the behavior is extensive, which we cannot kind of come to unless we read that chapter. So that's, I think, one of the most important thing. And Mission Life, which has been projected by India, is also very much inspired on the similar lines, changing your lifestyle to more sustainable practices. The second point that I was intending towards when I was writing the book was to make this book available to people at large, both the students who wanted to know about the subject in India, because we could realize that there is a huge skill gap which we could see, because industry is already talking about circularity, but we don't have ready-made skill set. And so we wanted to I wanted to look at that from a different perspective altogether. So I took a sectoral approach in my book. I talk about 5 different sectors. I talk about tourism, I talk about construction, I talk about wastewater, plastics and packaging. And while I talk all this, I bring a lot of global practices and global data in the book to make a transition in these sectors in India. Along with that, I conclude every single chapter with some Indian data and how Indian government could look at the policy intervention and technological interventions to make this change. So again, because India aims at a huge innovative transformation as we speak, it's happening in India. And the book is referred by multiple such startups from time and again. And they call me and they want me to make them understand how could they make technological interventions into such a kind of a transition. So I think these are 2 most important things that I would say the book covers.
Great, thank you. I would like to take specific note on the issue of gymming, with the hope that my dear wife is listening to this, who drives 20 minutes a day to go to gym and wonders why I stay at home and drink sustainable beer. But that's...
You should gift her my book on her birthday.
I'll do that. I'll do that. Thank you very much. Michelle, I'm going to move on to your first question in terms of the GGGI has its headquarters in Seoul, South Korea. It started as a Korean think tank before becoming international. How does that affect the organization's approach to projects and its ability to bring in disruptive solutions that drive the circular agenda? Can you unpack that for me?
Thank you, Chris. So the Global Green Growth Institute, whenever I tell people our headquarters is in Seoul, they say, oh, wow, really? And it's really surprising for a lot of people. But it shouldn't be. We should look at solutions from all over the globe, and that's part of what we do at GGGI. So we started, as you said, a think tank and transformed into this international intergovernmental organization in 2012 with Rio Plus 20. And it sought to promote this alternative paradigm of growth that marries economic growth with environmental sustainability and poverty eradication. And this was one of the reasons that I was always interested in joining GGGI, because you use these examples from different country, we have 43 different country offices at the moment. And we're always using ways that we can share information of not only what works, but also what didn't work. What were the challenges from different countries? And Rwanda has some fantastic examples that other countries are learning from through the network that we have, through the Green Growth Knowledge Platform, but also through our communities of practice. So we have a community of practice specifically on circular economy, and we have focal points for each of the regions. And we share examples of lessons learned and best practices and how we can learn from each other in a way that's not this paradigm of having, a north-south relationship, technology transfer or knowledge transfer, but it's really just identifying the best possible solutions from wherever they can be sourced, and then contextualizing them into the country that we're having different activities and interventions. And that's a lot of the work that we've done here. It's work that we're continuing to do, especially in the waste sector. It's something that is becoming an even greater issue for a lot of our member countries, and it's something that I think we'll bring up in the accelerator session tomorrow, because we have examples coming from South Africa, from Nigeria, and also from Kenya on EPR policies for e-waste. And this is something that we do on a regular basis. We try to find the best possible technologies, marry them with the country context and the national priorities, and then find a way to contextualize them and tailor them for the country where they'll be implemented.
Absolutely. I think the unique nature of understanding cross-boundary issues is something we all need to focus on. Olivia, I'm going to move on to yourself. I think many people here probably know of the fantastic systems you put into place with regards to e-waste. But specifically, maybe you could explain how EnviroServe Rwanda demonstrates specific circular innovation in that business model? And what is it different that you bring to the party with regards to the EnviroServe operations?
Yeah, thank you, Chris, for that. Maybe before I come back to that question, let me first appreciate the commitment of the government of Rwanda on circular economy. The facility, the recycling facility we operate in Rwanda was established through the partnership of EnviroServe and the government. And this really shows that the government is facilitating and committed to the promotion of circular economy. So coming back to the questions, our circular economy business model is based on different aspects. In all our facilities, we have dedicated departments for product life extensions. We do a lot of repairs and refurbishment for different electronic and electrical equipment we collect. We also do second life. We give second life to batteries, so we have battery repurposing equipment. And we recover a lot of valuable materials from the waste, the e-waste and plastic, which should otherwise have been dumped to the landfill. Of course, when we do that, we also prevent hazardous materials to enter the environment. So, so far we have been able to refurbish a lot of computers that have gone back to schools, and this is something that we are proud of. Actually, before any dismantling or recycling activity take place, we prioritize the testing to see if there is any potential for repurposing or refurbishment.
In terms of the innovation, maybe expand on that as well. So you know, we see a lot of e-waste recycling facilities around the world, and there are a number of high-level extraction components. So from an innovation perspective, where is EnviroServe going with regards to things like the printed circuit boards and the complicated e-waste plastics?
Yes, we have a dedicated facility at EnviroServe, especially at our EnviroServe headquarters. We have smelting facilities for circuit boards to be able to recover precious metals in the circuit boards. We also have dedicated lines for plastic recycling.
That's brilliant. Awesome. I think that's always the issue, is that we need to look at understanding how we can bring together all the different fractions and be truly sort of sustainable through all of those different things. Shalini, I'm going to come back to you, if you don't mind. The lab that you have launched with that's dedicated to the circular economy. This is looking at climate change and mission life. I need you to unpack that for me. But briefly inform the audience what that's about, what its impact is thus far, and the disruption side of that. What does that bring? What disruption does that bring to the table as well?
Yeah, I think circular labs is an important concept that we brought to India. India has a total area of around 3.3 million square kilometers. Just for your reference, if I were to kind of correlate that into the countries that we know of where we are sitting, it is 125 times that of Rwanda and almost 10 times in area to Finland. So if we talk about India, we see states in northern area which are Himalayan states, typically mountainous region and its own problems. We go to the south, it is a huge coastline that it covers. Again, a different set of challenges. The middle, the central India sees fertile Ganges plain. Towards the west is Thar Desert, and towards the right is the northeastern states, which are huge in biodiversity. So each region in India by itself is diverse, huge, and has its own set of problems. Now, when I talk about that, our challenges are as diverse as our own country. So when we talk about these challenges, I believe there are equal number of opportunities that we see or that it poses to us to develop and grow and use technology in leapfrogging to the circular transition. Circular Labs is a very minuscule part of a bigger platform that we are envisaging, which is bringing all the stakeholders on one platform. The idea remains to bridge the gap that exists currently. So what we realized in last 2.5 years of our work was that industry needed to be aligned to the academia, to work towards dedicated research, innovation, and entrepreneurship. So the labs are living examples of such collaborations. Industry engagement was very essential because when we talk about circularity and if we have to talk about material loops happening in the real sense, it is very important that industry should talk to the industry for managing the pre as well as post-consumer waste. So again, the labs play a very important role in managing the industry connect. And the last but not least is, as we all have been discussing about policy making, industry and policy making is an equally important role that these labs are playing. So introducing policies that will help in a circular transition in India is something that we are looking at. Having said that, the labs enable a startup culture. So we have seen research and innovation happening towards digitizing the entire supply chain, managing and tracking the waste, which is generated at end of life, as well as even the pre-consumer waste segment. We have also seen a huge transformation in the textile sector and the plastic sector. Government has recently come up with an APR portal to make a complete transparency in the post-consumer plastic waste management, and similar digitized models would be available for the other sectors as well. The labs have also been working in the fertile areas, specifically in the province of Haryana and Punjab, which is major agricultural belt, to come up with solutions for the farmers at local level to see the precipitation levels, the soil quality, using 2G technologies. And when I say 2G, it is very important for us to understand that India is a very diverse country once again, and the technology, or let's say the internet availability, may not be good at the countryside. So when I say 2G technologies, the farmers do not need very high-end equipment to understand all this and learn the technology. They can use it with very simple, minuscule phone sets. And so these kind of interventions have really helped us enable a circular transition, enable to manage our resources in terms of land and water in these areas. Then we also work on biodiversity credits and the carbon credits, which are a very, very important thing when we talk about the northeastern states. Recently, we are working with the state of Uttarakhand in also enabling the gross environmental product, because this is a very biodiverse and a green belt that is talking about how to look at or economically look at the viability of this model. But having said that, what circular labs aim at, we do understand that the diversity of the country has to be respected, and one shoe doesn't fit all concept has to be applied even in this case. So what we are coming up with is the decentralized models, where these labs would work out on the local problems and provide local solutions to the issues. And I think we are gearing up to that, and very soon we'll see many more labs coming up.
Fascinating. I'm interested in a biodiversity credit. How's that measured and how's it valorized?
Well, I think the states who have the biodiversity and have the greenery to maintain the biodiversity definitely want to utilize that potential of theirs and kind of look at how they could gain from that. And so they are looking at how these credits, I mean, the formula of calculating the credits is yet something that we are working on. But yes, it is important for them to kind of financially find this viable for them to manage, because otherwise they could also go into the transformation and the industry the way the other states are going. So I think it is very important for all of us to understand, and we have been talking about biodiversity here, and circularity and biodiversity goes hand in hand. So I think that's quite essential to understand how
Absolutely. Now they're all linked, and everything is linked, and I think that's what we need to learn from circularity, is that it's not about looking at one sector in isolation. It's about understanding the linkages between those. Michelle, I'm going to come back to you. In terms of your organization again, what do you think are going to be the greatest emerging challenges in the circular economy space of the future? And how is your organization, GGGI, going to position itself to support member countries to solve those?
Yeah, it's a great question. There are a number of new technologies that we're really seeing how we can apply that to circular economy business models. We're looking at ways that we can really leverage the different technologies such as blockchain and data science and data analytics. One of the institutions that we work with here is AIMS. It's the African Institute for Mathematical Sciences. And we've been working with their students for different projects. We're working with them for the Waste to Resources project for material flow analysis of plastic and also life cycle analysis. So really bringing to bear these types of data analytical sciences to these big, grand challenges. This is something that I think can be done more. Another area of intervention is on plastics. We've all seen how the international community is kind of coming around to the idea that this is a global challenge and coalescing in terms of the INC that was in Uruguay and also the Global Plastics Treaty that Rwanda and Peru really pushed for at the UNEA 5 conference. So this is a great development, but it's also a huge challenge, but also a great opportunity. So the way that GDGI is supporting different member countries is, again, bringing these new technologies, finding ways that they can match with the national priorities, and also bringing to bear the different sciences, data science, analytical science, and seeing how we can use those best and leverage them in order to address these huge global challenges, but in a way that suits the national context as well. So there's a number of different developments, but one of the ways that we work with our member countries is by mobilizing green investment for different circular economy business models, which is hugely important. Access to finance has come up a number of times in the past 2 days, but also using different ways that we can create the policy enabling environment and support national governments to do that. Rwanda is a fantastic example, again, looking at the circular economy strategy that was recently launched. So, I mean, there's great lessons to be learned from here that can be replicated and also scaled up in other countries. And that's something that we really try to do as GDGI. We look at indigenous solutions, we look at solutions from all of our member states, from Latin America, Sub-Saharan Africa, and look at how they can be applied in different member countries based on the national context. So those are two examples of how we're supporting our member states. One is on data science and analytics, but also looking at the challenge of plastic pollution. I mean, this is really top of my mind, and I think there's new technologies that can really help and bring to bear different technologies for the national context for different member countries.
Yes, thank you. I think it's something that we do need to understand. I mean, from my perspective, I'm very much involved in the sort of innovative technologies and applications that create value chains. But a lot behind that really is the disruptors, things like blockchain.
Yeah.
How do we measure components? How do we look at a just transition through looking at almost like a fair trade application with a blockchain where we can track and trace from beginning to end that allows us to be able to look at seeing what impact have we had? Is it working? Where is the information? So when we start to look at things like the investment into the infrastructure, on what? So we've got to measure it first. And I think some of these disruptive technologies, we will be chatting about that a little bit later with the hackathon. That's way beyond my scope. I battle to use my cell phone. So there's a different level of technology development from that perspective. But it is about disruption, and we need to look at all the different tools that are available to us. Olivia, the stuff that you're doing, obviously, in terms of the electronic waste side, and I believe you're also dabbling in other different waste components as well. So you're looking at providing a full service. But how's the use of circular economy innovations positively enhanced the business?
Thank you for the good questions. I think for us in Africa, and this is the difference I have noticed between Africa and other continents. We are seeing waste as a resource, and the way we handle it is different to the way other continents are handling. For example, in our recycling facilities, and this is common for other recycling facilities in Africa. We combine both manual and mechanical recycling, but in other continents you find mostly mechanical as starting point. And actually, starting with manual is very important for repair, for spare part harvesting, and so on. And these are used again. These materials are used again because they have been tested before, checked, and these are very important concepts for circular economy. So we have been able to apply those practices, and it had really added value in terms of business, in terms of job creation. Starting on the job creation, green job creation, we have been able to create more than 600 jobs through the whole network, collection, testing, the manual dismantling, and so on. Of course, we use also mechanical, but that comes after the manual part has been done. Through the repair program and refurbishment, we have been able to refurbish more than 7,000 computers, which gone back to schools in partnership with Rwanda Education Board, and this is very important for in terms of generation of revenues to the company, but also in terms of the impact on the society, on the education system, and so on. So we have also been able to extend the life of batteries. More than 8,000 batteries have been returned back to market. And we actually getting more revenues by applying these circular economy innovations. Yeah.
I think that's great. I think I might be bringing my laptop battery to you next time when I come here and seeing me battle with that. But I think the circularity behind that is also important. So the innovation it's not just about the processing. So it's about looking at extending longevity, so being able to get something into use for far longer. It's also being able to look at bridging the digital divide. And that bridging the digital divide is not just about providing a cheap computer to somebody who doesn't have the resources. It's about providing means to better themselves, to look at their own social upliftment. And then all the other components in terms of the value add and the value chains is really what the circularity is about. So one couldn't just go out there and say, right, I'm going to make money by processing my PCBs and stuff the rest of you. But it's about that business model, and it's how you make that change, and that creates that sort of social cohesion around that as well. So yeah, I think fantastic. We need to look at again taking these different models across Africa. We've seen that there's many different ways of being able to illustrate what we can do there. Shalini, I want to come back to one of the other things. I mean, you have such an extensive CV, it's actually quite daunting. But there's a lot of information in there specifically around looking at, and you might have to explain this for me, you've got a portal that you've launched, a MOOC ACT Swayam portal. You're going to have to explain that to me. Sure. And the journals and the credit courses for undergraduate programs. So from a disruption perspective, also what we need to look at is we need to look at education. And how are those different components bringing together disruptive thoughts and processes, bringing people into the circular complex?
Sure. Thank you for bringing up that question, Krish, because it was the very first thing that the council started to work on. What we realized, I'm continuing from the very first question that I answered on my book, what I realized was that the Indian industry was looking at a transition, but they didn't know how to make a transition. And we didn't have skilled force to work on that transition. So when we wanted to talk about circularity, there is no one who knows what circularity is all about. Maybe, end-of-life waste management is something that is generally referred as circularity. So One effort that we got intentionally into was to introduce this as a subject. And when we studied, we found that India was not on the map who was providing formal education on circular economy. And thus, we started discussing with the authorities there, the Ministry of Education in India, University Grants Commission, and AICTE is All India Council for Technical Education. So Council made genuine efforts to work with the Council, with the All India Council on Technical Education, to enable and embed this as a subject in all the technical postgraduate courses. And we were fortunate so that it was, we then launched a 32-hour open elective for all technical courses, which is now being run in all over India in all the technical courses. So this was one very big thing that we did. Coming to the next part of your question, Chris. When we talk about imparting the education, it's just one thing. But what I saw was there was a sea change in the way students were perceiving this subject. They saw that this is something which is coming. This is the future, and we have to get into it. So today, with an enabling infrastructure of education and entrepreneurship, a lot of students, they want to get into these disruptive models. So they are now looking at also providing technological transformations to the problem areas that exist in India, or let's say these hackathons that happen, or let's say the competitions that are happening, provide a lot of information with them to kind of leverage that benefit. Then we again work with the council, the Ministry of Education on giving problem statements to the students to come up with the solutions and ideas. And we have seen how this grows into disruption and how this is disrupting the Indian market with tangible results. So something called, let's say, the marine litter thing was happening, and then how to manage that, how to manage a complete transparent chain on marine litter in India has been started by a very small startup. I think that's the way to go, and this is where these kind of information play an important role. To begin with it was a very small course, an open course, which was elective, but then we can see a sea change that has happened all through.
No, absolutely. No, I mean, the education side of it is so important. I mean, some of the work that we've done recently through the African Circular Economy Network is to provide masterclasses, to get people to understand that circular economy is not about waste management, that it's an overarching and all-encompassing sort of science. And I think that's where we need to try and get that message through so that people can see the bigger picture. So we've got a little bit of time left, but what I would like to try and do is to just see, Michelle, in terms of something like the Global Green Growth Initiative, how would they tie in? Would you see, for example, you talk about looking at accessing global knowledge and technologies. How would you learn from an Envirus of Rwanda or from an ICCE looking at the circular economy in India? And is that the level of cooperation and collaboration you're looking at as well?
Yeah, that's a good point. I should mention we do have a country office in India, but part of the way that we do that is through the GDG Week. This is Global Green Growth Week. It's a tongue twister, but we do that every year in October, and we try to bring in speakers from the different national governments, but also the private sector, so that they can share lessons learned and best practices. This is one of the main ways that we're able to pull in different stakeholders and partners. We also do the Green Growth Knowledge Platform. That's with UNEP, World Bank, and the OECD. And that's also a way that we can share lessons learned. But I have to say, for us, the communities of practice is really useful because you can really delve into some of the challenges and the way that different country teams have overcome those challenges. So usually for the different knowledge platforms, they share best practices and success stories, but sometimes it takes learning from an unsuccessful model to really make things move forward. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's about partnerships. So I think what I'm going to try and do is wrap up. What I will ask is that if the three of you could leave the stage, and I'll do a little wrap up, and then I will introduce the next stage. Ladies and gentlemen, a huge round of applause, please, for Shalini, Michelle, and Olivia. Thank you. So I think that what we've learned out of this is that obviously understanding that the circular economy is about a lot more than just understanding key components. It's a disruptor. It's a systemic approach. It's about trying to find a way forward where we can all cooperate and understand. Looking at things like the SDGs, Partnerships for Change, how we can bring those components together and bring everybody into the same fold. And I think that's largely what we're hoping to get out of this as well, is that trying to get this collective thought to bring people together, understand the different opportunities that we have, because there are opportunities. I don't see problems. Everything that I see is an opportunity, and we need to unpack that. So be positive, and always look at the bright side of life. So we spoke about opportunities around the unique challenges. Each region is different. There's issues around looking at sort of accessing different components across the world, looking at partnerships, and there's a government business like Olivia has done, but also to understand the different components between the knowledge institutes and the CSOs and the CBOs and NBOs. We're all part of this together, so we've got to bring all of that together. And then looking at the sort of directed research innovation, bringing disruptive technologies together. And there's a large component of that I don't understand. As I said, my cell phone disrupts me sometimes. So let's have a look and see how we can look at understanding all of those different components and bring those together. And collectively, that's what we're here for. It really is just to understand that we are all part of the same initiative and we need to work together. So the next part of it is something that really is confusing to me. So that's why I'm going to bring Ash onto the stage, because I did one of these hackathons before in Cape Town, and I realized how stupid I was. So I'll stick to what I do. Ash Rana, he manages the Circular Economy Program at the African Leadership University, at the ALU. And the program focuses on empowering young African leaders so that they can use the circular economy to solve problems in their local communities. Ash believes in the power of youth leadership. He somehow doesn't think I'm youth. I don't know why. And he's built a career around empowering the youth and engaging them with the 17 SDGs through looking at organizations such as AIESEC and the African Leadership University. I'm not going to tell you too much more about that. Ash, I'm going to ask you to come up stage and introduce your people. Thank you very much. Thank you from me.
Thank you, Chris. Can you hear me? Great. Thanks, Chris. You are young at heart, but we'll talk about that later. So welcome, everybody. As Chris mentioned, I'm from the African Leadership University, and we have an interesting role to play in the circular economy space, be it working with the government through our research projects, working with the industry, and training students. And at ALU, we really want to focus on, or we really try to focus on leadership and entrepreneurship. And the reason we focus on leadership and entrepreneurship is because, number one, we believe that we need stronger institutions for the African continent and the world. And the way to do that is through developing ethical leaders at our university and obviously other universities across the continent. The reason why we focus on entrepreneurship is an opportunity for the continent and, again, the world, given that we have a growing population, and at ALU, we want to create employers, not just employees. So we want our students to graduate with businesses, and that's our ambition, that's our hope, and we'll showcase a few to you today. And we want them to employ other students so that we're solving these two challenges. We believe in the power of youth leadership. We believe that if we give young people the tools, the resources to solve challenges, they can do it. And they continue to amaze us all the time. One such tool that we teach our students, or we've been teaching our students since the last year, is circular economy. So we started teaching over 1,000 students about the circular economy, and we created an enabling environment. So I'm going back to the session 1 we had yesterday, where we learned 2 issues about what entrepreneurs face across the continent through the Footprints Africa case study. Do you remember them? Enabling environment, and the second was an obvious finance. So the way we try to do this, or address this, is through the business challenge that we organized. We partnered with foundations, such as the Mava Foundation, the Bestseller Foundation, to set up a fund and give students the opportunity to apply what they've learned in practice. Some of our students, we had around 61 students who successfully set up businesses. So these are students who are studying, managing their assignments. You know, when you're young, you have the energy, but also running successful businesses. So I'm happy to introduce 2 winners of this business challenge. And this will also allow us to learn about what Chris mentioned on the stage about the disruptive technology not just being technical, but also in the business models, in the way that, in the life cycle, where are we disrupting the life cycle of businesses. So we'll watch a video, 2 videos of 2 of our student businesses that are circular in nature. The first one is by McDonald Nyahoja, whose business is trying to find a different approach to solving a big problem across the continent's informal sector by giving them high-quality tools through a product as a service model. So we'll watch that through a video, and I'll have the team play McDonald's video for you to learn about his business.
We are craftsmen, tools and machinery.
Over 85.5% of employment in Africa is in the informal sector. Yet, informal craftsmen remain poor due to poor productivity that is directly related to the poor tools that they use. On the other hand, there is a sharp increase in metal waste within Africa, which is heavily polluting the environment. Secondly, there is a huge knowledge gap about circularity within Africa's craftsmanship sector. Craftsman Tools and Machinery Suppliers is on a mission to create circular economy champions in craftsmanship by assisting craftsmen to procure quality, affordable, and sustainable tools and machinery, and to enhance the continent's productivity and wealth creation. We also refurbish and recycle old tools. Our mission is to lead the way in industrialization and innovation within Africa's informal sector, which represents 80% of employment in Africa, by training a network of craftsmen, that's carpenters, welders, and mechanics, among others, who can implement circular ways of working in their day-to-day activities.
Craftsman Tools and Machinery Suppliers is on a mission to enhance the productivity and work efficiency of African craftsmen.
I decided to join with my partners in order to address this issue by providing cheap and affordable tools.
I use Craftsman tools to repair cars, and so far my clients are happy.
The tools I was using before Craftsman came in were faulty and could sometimes malfunction. I was therefore not able to meet my customer expectation and therefore made loss.
We are Craftsman Tools and Machinery Suppliers.
Can we hear a round of applause for McDonald? He couldn't join us here. He studies at our Mauritius campus and manages the business in Mauritius and in Zimbabwe while studying full-time. I think that's where the youth in it really shines. We have another business to showcase to you by Colleen Bango. So Colleen Bango is a student at African Leadership University on our Kigali campus, and tried to solve a problem that she faced when she came to Kigali to study, access to vegetables that she liked. And what she's tried to do now is find a less resource-intensive way to grow food, not just for herself, but for other students in our university and around the region as well. So we'll hear about Colleen's story also through the video.
Hello, my name is Colleen Bango and I'm from Zimbabwe, currently based in Rwanda. I remember reading an article, it was from the Ministry of Agriculture Rwanda, and they were saying that about 14 million tons of soil is lost every year due to soil erosion. And this has been as a result of unsustainable farming practices in Rwanda, which has also contributed to low productivity, leading to insufficient supply of vegetables across Rwanda. This research led to the establishment of Bango Hydroponics Farm. Bango Hydro Farm is a venture that seeks to ensure that there is diverse supply of vegetables across the ALU communities, restaurants and hotels in Kigali and Rwanda at large. We aim to achieve this mission through adhering to circular economy principles through the use of hydroponics. Hydroponics farming is a process of growing crops in water-based nutrients. So some of the circular economy principles that we are currently applying at Bango Hydroponics Farm include the regeneration of the soil. Since hydroponics farming is a soilless method of farming, we conserve the soil as we use other alternatives such as volcano stones to grow our crops, and this allows the soil to regenerate itself. We are also able to reuse water. We can save about 90% of water, and only 10% of water is lost throughout this process, as water can be reused again and again.
The water is coming to the system irrigation. Then after, the water is go back to the tank. After 7 days, we are removing the water inside the tank. We put the new water and to put the fertilizer inside.
Another principle that we are applying is conserving the space. Currently at Bango Hydroponics Farm, we have a system that is 6 meters by 3. And with this system, we have managed to grow about 180 plants. Imagine using the traditional method of farming, you can only grow about 30 plants. Bango Hydroponics Farm currently has about 2 permanent and 8 part-time workers, and we hope to employ more women in the future. Currently, we have managed to supply vegetables to ALU communities and to expats that are based in Kigali, but we envision a future whereby we are able to supply to restaurants, supermarkets, and hotels located across Rwanda.
Let's hear it for Colleen. Actually, Colleen is actually in the room today. Colleen, can we just see your hand? So your potential customers, all the potential customers and investors, you know who to reach out to. So we've also tried to explore here different models of circularity, right? Like not just waste management, that's what we've been talking about. How do we go look at the bigger picture and use resources efficiently, right? So Colleen is trying to grow more with less. So that's the kind of disruption that we need, not just using, again, software technology, but also using the indigenous technologies that exist. Now we go back to the Trailblazer session, that, again, the conversation around how do we create these enabling environments for young people to solve problems, or entrepreneurs to succeed. The first step is allowing them the space to ideate, fail if they fail, but allowing them to take that first step. And that's where the hackathon comes into the picture. We work with the Ministry of Environment, UNDP, and considered ASEA's research on the 5 big bets. I'm sure most of you must be familiar with them. And we presented our students with challenges that they solved over Saturday, Sunday, and Monday this week, or last week and this week. So very recent. We have 2 winners with us today who will share the idea that they have, and we're looking for support for them to get their idea into reality. So if you can support, you'll hear about the solution. The first challenge, or the first team that will present their solution, worked on this challenge. How do we create a stronger circular food system in Rwanda, in Kigali, starting with Kigali, and how can that lead to creating green jobs? We really wanted to work and understand what the problem was on the ground level, which is why we consulted research with the Ministry of Environment. And to present the solution, this team also received the prize for the most actionable project. Please allow me to introduce you Sandrine and Marzoli on the stage. Can we have a mic for them, please? How are you feeling? Good? So they'll talk to us about their solution. Can we have the mic? There you go.
All right, thank you. Hello?
I think you might just need to speak a little louder.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to ask you guys a question. So whenever you go to the market to buy tomatoes, right, what grade of tomatoes do you go for first? The truth is that majority of people usually choose the top grade, like the best grade of tomatoes. But then we don't ask yourself, like, what happens to the, the last grade, the soft, the broken tomatoes? I mean, nobody wants the broken tomatoes. Nobody wants the last grade. And for that reason, this particular grade of tomato often goes to waste. In Rwanda, for instance, we have that 56% of tomatoes are discarded annually. And this has a tremendous impact on the income of the different players along the supply chain. And so this is caused by a number of reasons. We have the lack of an available market, we have the lack of value addition, and many others. And so it is for that reason that I and my colleague, we decided to come up with a project that focuses on establishing a centralized agro-processing facility whereby we're encouraging all the different players along the supply chain to bring this specific type of tomatoes and sell them to us at a relatively cheaper price, for us to convert these tomatoes into added value products like tomato powder, tomato food mix, and so on and so forth. So basically, we'll be transforming mechanically damaged tomatoes into tomato powder, tomato paste, tomato food mix, and many other nutritious tomato-based products. And also, we'll be transforming the rotten tomatoes into organic fertilizer, tomato-based organic fertilizer. And so we carried out our prototype project, and we did test the idea. We tested one of our products. We transformed mechanically damaged tomatoes into tomato food mix using a dehydration method. And so we tested this product, and we realized that it has potentials for the Rwandan population. Like, the prospects are actually positive. And so it is for that reason that we are soliciting your support, both in cash and in kind, to be able to implement this project and also scale it up in the future to other horticultural crops that are facing the same dilemma, in order to create more green jobs and to slash down on food waste in this sector. And so I am Akwese Majoli, and my colleague is Gea Sandrine, and basically what we're doing is creating a message out of the mess, and in this case, the mess is the mechanically damaged tomatoes and rotten tomatoes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So another team that won the prize was try to solve a problem in the fashion and textile space. And to present this, I welcome Teofila and Fina to the stage. You can have the mic. Sorry. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Okay, I'm Fiona Uwase, and I'm pursuing a bachelor's degree in international business and trade. I'm with my colleague Uwase Teofila, pursuing a bachelor's degree in entrepreneurial leadership. With reference to our high school and other schools in Rwanda, we've realized that there is this specific uniform. It's a knitted sweater. So these sweaters are usually dumped, burned, or left sitting in the closets of students after their graduation. And here we are talking about 66,000 graduates every year. This is a lot of waste. So how do we solve this? We inserted it's like undo button. You would wish for an undo button in this process. So the way this undo button works is that we are reversing these sweaters back into yarn. This yarn will serve as a raw material to Rwanda's growing fashion and handcraft industry. We all know that after Rwanda's coffee, handcraft is the next thing. And given the nature of the handcraft industry, we will provide more green jobs to the Rwandan communities. And the way the handcraft industry is currently operating, there's a lot of women. So we intend to impact lives of a lot of vulnerable women in the communities. So as discussed in earlier sessions, partnerships in creating circular system is all we are here for. We invite government to put the right policies in place, like return policies in places like schools, so we can be able to collect this textile waste in large quantities. With the right investment in place, we can also be able to scale our operation and create more green jobs. We invite everyone interested to be part of a solution with the potential to develop communities while keeping the lowest unit of our clothes, in this specific case yarn, in use. Thank you.
Thank you. And to encourage and keep our youth encouraged to solve such problems and work on the solutions, we have a few gifts for them. I would request Madam Varsha Redkar-Palepu, the Deputy Resident Representative of UNDP Rwanda, to please join me on stage in handing over a small token of appreciation to the students. I can help you. Please. To each of them. Sorry. Thank you, madam. Thank you, team. Can I also invite Her Excellency, Minister of Environment, Dr. Jean de Arc Mujaba Maria, to be on stage to also give a few gifts to our students. Okay. Thank you, Excellency. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. That brings us towards the end of the session. We're slightly delayed, but I invite Chris to join me on stage, and I want to leave you with this. We can't do this job alone. Find young people in your communities that are solving big problems and invest in them, your time, your energy, or even money. Thank you so much. Chris? Oh.
Ash, thank you very much. I think Chris didn't want to come and be back on stage with you after you disqualified him from being young.
Thank you.
But let's give Ash and Chris a big round of applause, please. And more importantly, to the superstars who are reflective of the fact that young people really have their sleeves rolled up, they're part of the solution, and they are shaping the future. Let's give them a big round of applause, please.
You guys did really well.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for us to transition to our closing ceremony. We have our high-level speakers standing by. But Tanya, before that, I know that we want to check in with the studios.
Absolutely. We've got a short video from the African studios that we'd like to share with you. So let's take a look.
We went over time. How do I take this off?
Wow, that looked absolutely amazing. And as a note, the African studios were organized by the Africa Circular Economy Network and funded by the government of the Netherlands.
Absolutely. Now, ladies and gentlemen, to extend her closing reflections and to bring us back to the theme where we started, from Africa to the world, it's our ultimate pleasure to welcome back onto stage Madame Aissa Touré, the country manager of the African Development Bank. Let's give her a big round of applause, please.
Thank you so much. Honorable Minister, Dear delegates, good afternoon, Miriwe. Let me start by appreciating our hosts for another wonderful day of this forum. And thank you also to all delegates for the insightful and engaging conversations since yesterday. As we heard, I think that we all agree now that circular economy has the opportunity to drive socio-economic changes and transformations and innovation, positive disruptions. And it has a massive economic potential and solution as we transition to green growth. But for that to happen, we saw it. We have to be deliberate, we have to be intentional, especially and inclusive, to be able to include the youth and the women. And for that to happen, we have to be really deliberate and intentional from a policy and enabling environment perspective, financial, information, knowledge sharing, and collaboration. I think that this morning we spoke about collaboration too. And how do we link all the dots for that to be able to happen? With a vast natural resources, youth, population, strong entrepreneurship, mindset, especially driven by women, and new forms of collaboration, the African continent can offer inspiration to the rest of the world. In fact, I just realized since yesterday how similar and the synergy we can create between this forum and the African Development Bank Africa Investment Forum that takes place every year, which is a deal marketplace for Africa's transformative projects. And I would be happy to see some of the innovations from the innovation showcase here to find their way to the IEF deal marketplace next year in Abidjan. As a global community, we also agree that funding have to be blended and to be merged. Africa Development Bank is very proud to host the African Circular Economic Alliance, a country-led alliance chaired by Rwanda, South Africa, and Nigeria. The alliance creates the space to collaborate and replicate, promote good practices where innovative ideas are transformed into impactful solutions. AFDB, African Development Bank, will continue to support the institutions, private sector, and the continental banks to make circular economy happen on the continent. As we look ahead of next year World Circular Economic Forum, let's use the many frameworks that already exist, including, we shouldn't forget, the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, to nurture, mature, and showcase continental best practices of transformative circular solution to provide climate solution also. For this to materialize, we need better coordination among actors. I spoke about it earlier. Clear and known channels and platforms for information and knowledge sharing, and to incentivize the different segments of the private sector. As we speak, yesterday and today, African Development Bank is replenishing one of his financing vehicles, and we're able, between yesterday and this morning, to leverage over $400 million to enable low-income countries manage climate risk and to harness green investment opportunities. Once again, great appreciation of the co-host for this inspiring 2 days, Citra for bringing the forum to Africa and to Rwanda, and for the government of Rwanda for the smooth organization of the event and leading the way in the circular space. Merci beaucoup, thank you, Murakoze Chani.
Thank you very much, Madame Sa. Ladies and gentlemen, as we come to the end of WCEF 2022, of course, the biggest question at the tip of our tongues is, what will happen in 2023. And so, for a little bit of a sneak peek and to tell us a little bit about what to expect in 2023, I'm going to invite 3 speakers onto stage, and they're going to lead us and reveal the curtain just a little bit. So please help me welcome onto stage Jyrki Kaitanainen, once again, the president of the Finnish Innovation Fund, Sitra. Joining him is Marte Hochland, the Senior Innovation Advisor from the Nordic Innovation, and also Mr. Kimmo Tilikanainen, Director General of the Geological Survey of Finland. Over to Jyrki.
Thank you. Thank you very much. What a fantastic 2 days we have had. I must tell that I have learned a lot of new stuff, yes, and I have got inspired. And for this reason, I want to thank all the fantastic panelists and moderators and all participants, and especially co-organizers for skillfully run event. And special thanks, of course, goes to the government of Rwanda and to the minister for letting us to meet each other and learn from each other here. So now I'm going to reveal a secret, as I'm going to announce the location of next year WCEF. As I mentioned yesterday in my opening statement, the forum, we have come a long journey with WCEF. During this journey, we have learned a lot from each other and established partnerships that can last a lifetime. Even if we move to a new location, the people we have met will continue to work together for circular future. So after this long circle, I would like to announce that we are heading back to where the journey started in 2017. The World Circular Economy Forum 2023 will be organized in Helsinki, Finland, and it will be organized in collaboration with Nordic Innovation. So therefore, I have a pleasure to introduce Ms. Marte Haugland from Nordic Innovation. Marta, could you give your initial thoughts about this event, and do you see any connection between this and next year's event?
Yes, thank you, Jyrki, and good afternoon to all of you. It's been, I'm so pleased to be here tonight and to be at this important platform for the development of the circular economy globally. And we're so happy to be organizing, and it's an honor to be organizing the World Circular Economy Forum next year with you. We look forward to showcasing Nordic circular solutions that have been developed the last years together with you in the Nordics next year. I think it's been fantastic to be here to learn from all the thinkers and doers, circular doers here globally and especially from Africa. And I think that we experience different challenges across the globe, but we will stand together and find solutions to these challenges together. And I think we saw sustainable trade, value chain, city lives, and partnership and business models and cooperation. And these things we can do together, and it's circular. In addition, I think this call to urgency and the call for action now, social economic development, nature and biodiversity are key and crucial topics for framing next year's forum. And we have this great opportunity to change the course and build a sustainable future for our next generations. And we cannot miss out on this.
Okay, thank you. So there is a clear connection between this event and next year's event. So I think we all are anxiously waiting for the topics which we are going to discuss about next year. So can you reveal anything concerning the topics?
Yes. So Nordic Innovation works especially with circular business models, circular innovations, Nordic ecosystems, and Nordic circular cooperation. And we are very action-oriented. So we will therefore continue the dialogue from this year's forum and discuss circular economy solutions for nature and economy. Our goal will be to dive into different sectors, ocean, agriculture, textiles, energy and minerals, but also to look at the cross-cutting themes of digitalization and value chains, regenerative innovations and solutions for nature, financing, business opportunities, and to see how we can advance the circular economy together for the benefit of people, planet, and businesses.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Marta. And we'll see you next time, sometimes next summer. It's supposed to be somewhere in summer.
Yes.
And we are anxiously waiting for this event. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kimmo, so you are leading Geological Survey of Finland currently, but before that you were Environment Minister of Finland. And therefore you have been following the journey of WCEF from the very beginning. So what are your initial thoughts about this year's event?
Yeah, I was Minister of Environment and Energy during the first and second WCEF, and I was pretty much involved with the arrangement of this in Helsinki and Yokohama. And during that time, my African colleagues kept on asking me when WCEF can take place in Africa. And therefore, I'm extremely happy that today it's here and here in Rwanda. And just one thing I want to conclude of all these 2 days. And I would like to congratulate both Rwandan government and Sitra. Usually, it is that policies and strategies, they fly up and high. Mm-hmm. And we, single citizens and entrepreneurs, are working our foot on the ground. Mm-hmm. You have managed to get these levels connected to each other. Strategies and the practical living of businesses and single citizens have touched each other and let them not get apart again. So congratulate for that.
Yeah, thank you. Well said. So Kimmo, Marta mentioned that one of the topics for next year will be about minerals. Very hot issue currently everywhere. So you and your organization, you are experts in minerals. So what kind of debate we can expect concerning minerals?
Well, GTK's mission is to accelerate transition towards sustainable carbon-neutral world. And the green transmission needs huge amount of investments, and that means huge amount of materials, including metals and minerals. So you can recycle only things that already exist. And the problem is that we don't have enough critical raw materials at the moment. That has two consequences. First is that we must improve the sustainability of mining so that its social and environmental performance will be improved, that the needed new mines can be accepted by societies. And second consequence is that we have to develop a circular economy of the mining sector. And one taste bit of this is the remining of old tailings and other mine wastes. This remining opportunities has been studied, and usually it has turned out to be non-profitable. But we need new kind of thinking in this. It's not only the valuable critical raw materials that we can gain from the old wastes, but when we add to that two other benefits. One, now I need to check these two benefits that I'm saying then really well. I mean, first other benefit is preventing the pollution of those old mines. If we can reprocess the old tailings in a way that we minimize the threat of the environment in future, that's one more benefit. And second, other benefit is that if we can remediate those old mining places and return some biodiversity there, then biodiversity will win. And on the other hand, indirect impact on biodiversity is that the more we can get critical raw materials out of secondary resources, the less we need new mining areas. And that's the way how we can also save biodiversity. So
okay.
This kind of things we will touch.
That's very interesting. Thank you very much, Kimmo. This and lots of more we can go through during the next WCEF. Thank you very much. So, dear participants, my last words are very short. I would like to thank all participants on my behalf and on behalf of Sitra and co-hosts, co-organizers for letting this fantastic event to happen. As I said before, I think we all have learned a lot. There are lots of things which need concrete actions. I think this event has created valuable partnerships, which helps us to make theories practices. And we will continue this debate next summer. Thank you very much.
So I guess we all know where we'll be next year for summer and what we're going to be discussing. But to lead us into the closing remarks, it is my honor to welcome to stage Dr. Jeanne d'Arc Mujawamaria, Minister of the Environment for Rwanda. Let's give her a round of applause as she comes to stage.
Thank you very much. Your Excellencies, Honorable Ministers, Honorable Jyrki Katainen, President of Finnish Innovation Fund, Sitra, Mr. Assad Nakwi, Head of the Secretariat of the Partnership for Action on Green Economy, Your Excellencies, Heads of Diplomatic Corps, distinguished delegates, dear youth, senior officials, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. You have done a tremendous work over the last 2 days. We have explored how to make the transition to a circular economy a reality, from Helsinki to Kigali. This is a journey that Rwanda is committed to, and I have been inspired by the experiences shared from across Africa and around the world. Thank you to everyone who contributed to these discussions. We are all richer in knowledge and in networks because of you. I would like to outline 3 key takeaways from this forum. First of all, collaboration is key. Achieving a just and inclusive circular economy requires coordination, the sharing of knowledge, and access to technology and innovation, and of course, access to finance. Secondly, financing is a key enabler. We need to improve how we invest in circular businesses and create the right environment for entrepreneurs to flourish and established businesses to go circular. Last but not least, many circular economy practices are embedded in our culture and come from the knowledge of our ancestors. They are not new. Let us draw on the rich source of inspiration and build on it through innovations that address climate change, biodiversity loss, food security, and pollution. On this journey, let us leave no one behind. Indeed, building a vibrant circular economy needs everyone on board. I encourage you to take back the circular solutions and best practices identified over the past 2 days. You have the power to speed up the transition to a circular economy that is clean, green, and low carbon, and that restores nature. As I conclude, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to the Finnish Innovation Fund, Sitra, and its leadership. The African Circular Economy Alliance, the Africa Circular Economy Network, the African Development Bank, UNDP Rwanda, and all our varied partners who have worked hard to make this year's forum a success. Thank you to all our attendees here in Kigali, at the 5 studios across Africa and online, for your passion, insight, and constructive contributions. We have had 321 physical participants, and we have had more than 2,000 online participants. Just after this closing session, I will join a dialogue with the members of the African Circular Economy Alliance to discuss how we can immediately put into practice the lessons from the last 2 days. We have to go to actions. There is no time to waste. It should have been done yesterday. Thank you for visiting Rwanda, and I wish you a very safe and sacred end of year parties. And I wish you a safe journey back home if you decide to go. Otherwise, you are free to stay in Rwanda until next year, 2023. I thank you.
And this is how we conclude the World Circular Economy Forum 2022. Nozzy, for me, it's been an excellent 2 days. My knowledge tank is full. My energy is revitalized. For you?
No, absolutely. I couldn't add any more adjectives to that, but certainly considering the invitation to stay until 2023, and I will say, Minister, that my budget for December shopping is being revised as we speak, as per your considerations. The only thing that's left for us to do now is to say thank you. And we're going to attempt to try and say thank you in as many languages as possible to cover everyone. So, Tanya, you're going to kick us off, right?
Okay, let's go. Murakoze cyane. Merci. Thank you. Asante sana.
And this one I hope I get right. Kitosh. Siyabonga. Enkosi. Bayadanki. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.